This is a story about the Workspace, a project developed by All Saints Action Network to create a managed workspace out of a former primary school. Since opening the building in October 2008, the units for let have gone very quickly when marketed effectively. The Workspace has been marketed widely to the third sector and the public and private sector. ASAN has its own projects incorporated into the building. These include a changing room for the sports site, a suite of rooms for a day nursery, and space for the children's centre. An unexpected bonus has been the success of the seminar and conference space. This has both grown the organisation's generated income, but has also given a local day centre organisation the chance to develop into a provider of catering to the Workspace. To help those who are watching this film understand how the Workspace was developed, we decided to speak to a number of key individuals who in their own way played a significant role in making the Workspace happen. We struggled at first to think how this could be done, but in the end took the easiest route we could come up with. The starting point to any project idea, of course, is the idea itself. Where did the idea come from? Well, the idea came from a number of people, and other people pitched in to create the whole project. And then, as the idea gathered momentum, it moved on to its next stage, which was trying to understand how the business potential for the idea could be realised. That's quite a tricky one because our business idea was not unique, but the building was, and we needed to make sure that we could make the idea work in the building. Finally, we need to build the right team around us to make the whole project get off the ground, both quickly and efficiently. Well, that's a quick introduction. Let's hear now from some people who helped us to create and develop the various ideas. Chris, do you want to just tell us how you developed the concept for the Workspace?
Yeah, we really want to start by developing a strong vision for the building. At the time, there were a number of ideas kicking around for different uses for the building, but nothing solid and nothing in place. So we very much started by looking at aims for the building. One of the key aims right from the outset was that this must be financially self-sustaining. We spoke to people, we spoke to local people, we spoke to groups in the area about occupying space within the building. That enabled us to get a very good feel for demand, and in particular paying demand for the occupation of the building. We had to balance that out very carefully between what people can afford to pay for space as against occupiers that perhaps might find that more difficult. And it's one of the great difficulties about developing a social business like this, is to create that balance and make things financially self-sustaining in the way that was created in the end.
Chris, can you tell us more about the whole stakeholder consultation process and how you engage people in a discussion about their long-term involvement in the building?
Yeah, it's very important that we consulted widely right from the outset. And the way we did that was to break down a number of different stakeholder groups. A key group in that was potential users of the building. So we went out and spoke to a number of local community groups in the area, other potential tenants of the building. We also went and spoke to key agencies, the likes of the council, funding agencies and other supporters of the building to get their buy-in to the vision that we created from the outset and to identify what support they might provide. In addition, it's very important this building be located in the community, that is linked with the local community as well, and it's important for us to go speak to local residents, and we did that through a number of focus groups, some of which we involved local translators as well in that process. That was a really helpful process in terms of developing the study, and it enabled us to pull together all those different ideas to eventually create that vision for what this building has become.
Okay, Colin, could you just tell me how the board reacted initially to the idea of taking on the school building?
I think the board's initial reaction, they were a bit dubious as to what we could achieve with the school building, that it ever came into our possession. Would it be a community-based thing, but could we afford to run the school as such, or would we need to get some people involved, outside bodies involved, to create an income stream that would provide the finances for all the expenses that go with the thing that we were trying to create, and sort of get the general feeling that, yeah, it could be an asset, but then again it could be a millstone. And there were a lot of puzzled expressions, shall we say, in the board meeting to start with.
Frank, do you want to just tell us why the Workspace is important to ASAN?
I think the Workspace is important to us, and first of all, it's a social enterprise program, and the Workspace, through other funding we've acquired, has helped us to generate a social enterprise organization. And it's very important that from what we've got, it will help us to generate income to keep the various program that we're running going. Social Society Workspace here is a very unique thing to have, and we've got a lot of people using it at the moment, and hopefully when the Workspace is fully developed and rent out to different groups, that will generate some funding for us.
And I mean, what sort of other reasons, so setting aside the generating income, what other reasons did ASAN think that it was good to get involved in a project like the Workspace? What's it done for the community?
I think from my point of view, when the school closed, that means we've lost a lot of families in the area. And because we've got a Workspace now, it has developed back into community use, like the football ground outside there and the dressing room we're going to have inside there. So the community now will be able to use the Workspace, like the children's center we're going to have in here. The single family families will then be able to use the center. We will set up some trainings that will help the people in the area to use as well.
Frank, when ASAN first started thinking about the Workspace, it was quite a young organisation. All the directors are volunteers from the community. Was that a big challenge for them when we first started talking about the idea?
I think so. I think the first time you brought it up, I said, well, that's not possible, because it's a big challenge for organizations like us. We're all volunteers. And I said, well, it's impossible something to do. And I think as the time went on, when we start gathering different funding from different groups and everybody, get the community engaged in the plan to see how it's going to look like, then I said, yeah, it's something we're going to look at. So then I think the enthusiasm came in from individual board members, and to say, yeah, we need this in the area.
Okay, Hamish, I just wonder if you could just tell us, from the point of view of someone who was involved in making funding decisions about this building, what were some of the things that you felt were important in coming to make a favourable decision to support the Workspace?
Yeah, as a fund, Mike, there was a number of things, but if I very quickly touch on just three of them. The first off is, if you look at from the future of this project or this building, we needed to make sure that as a business is stacked up, so we had the long-term sustainability taken care of. So that's why part of this building is going to be used for attracting businesses who can pay rent. But more importantly, it's also used as an incubator for small businesses. So it's not just business we're looking at, it's to developing business for the future. So that in part takes care of the financial side of it. The other thing which was key is, as a community organisation, we wanted the community to be able to use the facilities, the halls, meetings and all that.
Steve, I'd be particularly interested in finding out why Network Consortium were interested in supporting ASAN in developing a project like the Workspace.
Well, Workspace Network Consortium, as you know, is an organisation that supports a range of community organisations around the city. And we were particularly pleased on this site to help ASAN to bring a building, an old school, that would possibly fall into disrepair and could become derelict, back into use. It's an interesting building, it's got a lot of history, and it's a building that's provided some valuable needed resources in the city. You've now got a really nice conference facility of a medium size, which Wolverhampton was sadly lacking. I think you're close to the city centre. You've got parking, you've got access to public transport, and we as an organisation, and many of the partner organisations we've worked with, have already made good use of the building in terms of conferences and activities that we've been involved with. So we very much, I think, along with yourselves, saw the opportunity rather than perhaps the blot on the landscape that some people saw it as.
Okay, and Steve, just taking that a stage further then, I mean, how important, from the point of view of the community organisation that ASAN is, how important is the more enterprising element of this project and how it's been developed?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a real key element, because, I mean, Network Consortium, along with yourselves and others in the city, have recognised the fact that community organisations can no longer depend on grant after grant after grant. They've got to become more enterprising, they've got to develop activities and facilities that are sustainable. And, you know, developing a building like this is creating, first of all, employment for local people, and secondly, the opportunity for small businesses to work from and establish in the area. And thirdly, it's providing a valuable resource which can help other organisations to develop their sort of training opportunities, their planning, their you know, even just for boards to be able to meet to discuss business, a nice venue where you could meet with a potential customer, all of that sort of thing. Because if we don't have good facilities that attract the private sector, we're going to struggle in an increasingly difficult market for the voluntary community sector.